Hello, welcome to Bigfoot Odyssey, and it's kind of Sunday encounters, stroke researchers report, stroke question and answers, and just getting you guys in the chat involved in what we're doing here on Bigfoot Odyssey, what Mark's doing. Oh, by the way, hi Mark, stepping
What's
in
up?
tonight. Great for Kerry. Yeah, we're just talking about before the show. Have you got your speakers on? Have you got your thing on maybe? Okay, good.
Somehow I have a horrible echo. I'm going to reconnect.
It's all right. Okay, no worries. It's something playing in the background, I think. It's something playing in the background. But hello to everybody in the chat. I hope everybody's doing all right out there tonight. If any of you were expecting drawing Bigfoot last night, I did advertise it and we were going to do it. And unfortunately, our guest wasn't feeling well and it was a little bit too late for me to find someone else. But I think we're going to do one on Saturday. So keep an eye out for a schedule coming up for a drawing Bigfoot on Saturday night. But in the meantime, I'm here with Mark. And we were just talking before, weren't we, about, going to get right into it now, about the expectations of what people have when researchers are going out, and Mark used a great word, just doing a study. It's not about having answers. It's trying to find them, but it's by no means evidence or proof. I mean, this is such a difficult thing to do, isn't it? And if the pressure was off, if we just kind of observed a little bit what people were doing, I think it would make it easier for researchers to present the stuff, to talk about what they found, to have these, nice discussions rather than these fallouts and people being angry at people, or
Right.
slamming the fists on the table going, well, where's your proper evidence at? I mean, it's just ridiculous to even expect someone to suddenly have the answer to Bigfoot just like that. It does kind of, like, when you think about it, we expect too much, don't we? And maybe we should give researchers a bit of a break in what they're doing, and maybe just sit back a little bit and listen.
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly, like, we're definitely, like, just looking at what's going on is, it's like horrible for researchers to try to share information with people because the available sources are all tainted with people with preconceptions about what's going on. And they don't understand that it is a study, right? And that's like happening, right? It's a cool word, the word study, right? Because it's kind of like a noun, but it's also a verb, present tense. You know what I mean? But really, when you look at it, it's about learning, right? So why did we get into this? Well, my son saw something, then I saw something, and in both instances, authorities tried to cover it up. And literally, my son's encounter right in front of us. So what I said was, well, I know now because I've seen it. I knew then when he told me, and I was there and witnessed everything that happened. I just didn't get to see the creature, but tracked it and all that. So, and looking at it, it just seems to me that, like, people need to understand that there are none. There's no answers, right? And so when people go in the woods, they're trying to find some answers, right? And so when they come upon a track and they document it, first of all, it's like a miracle. You know what I mean? Like, literally, like, these aren't easy to find if you don't know what's going on. And you actually get out in an area and you find tracks. Maybe you live in a rural area, whatever it ends up being. And these people come forward and they want to show it, and then they're attacked. So, yeah, certainly, people seem to be throwing everything into the same category, as opposed to taking time to do intelligent review of what's going on and understanding that there are a lot of people who are putting a lot of considerable time, money, and effort into this, and are taking it with scientific method to new levels of stuff. And there's people out here who are doing that. It's just a question of, can the Bigfoot community understand that study is ongoing. And like, as it comes in, that's how we learn, right? And for me, in crypto reality, it was about learning how to document them. And we had to understand why it was so difficult, even when we were close. And so, we put together, and it seems to be working, and we're forwarding, which is what it's about. You don't intend to study something like this and then walk out in the field and do it without a lot of information first. And I mean, it's a lot of information. 7 years in, and probably at this point over 600 expeditions. And I'm like, we are learning, like, just now learning how to capture these things on film. And now it's a question of, like, better technology. So, but in presenting the information, the amount of effort that has gone into getting us just to where now we're actually ready. And when we get this technology, are going to show people things that they've never thought existed. But in the end, it's been hell getting there, because the community largely doesn't understand how this works. They feel like people come in from the field and share evidence, and it's some kind of a statement of absolution about something. And understanding how this works to begin with it prevents that from happening.
Yeah.
This is ongoing, and it will be until the authorities come forward. And what most of us understand is obviously going on. So
yeah, I mean, you're literally trying to pick up pieces of the puzzle rather than evidence. I mean, these are just things that maybe might connect dots, and who knows what the dots are. I mean, it's still, like you say, it's an ongoing thing. So, no one has the answers. I mean, we're so far off from it.
Researchers are presented with an impossible equation, first of all, right? You're initially, if you're in the right areas, you're presented with a stream of data. Could be tracks, could be 100 different avenues of data coming in, but you never see the subject. You never see the causation of it. And you may hear you may hear all kinds of strange things, but you're finding these tracks. And with this much anecdotal evidence over the last 70 years, all of us fully understand thousands of colloquialisms and all these things, and the regional adaptations that we hear about through encounters and reports. We have a general idea of what's going on, even though we're not seeing the individual yet. It doesn't take, like, a 200 IQ to understand that there's a 17-inch track. I just heard something growl that sounded like a buffalo, and it's in the bush the track was pointing at. You know what I mean? So when people go to work on this, they're presented with all this data and they have no individual. That's the conundrum. Learning how to catch the individual is the riddle that's doing all this. And so that's where I think, there's this disconnect. People don't understand. And so, like I said, the focus of our study, and Carrie will tell you this, when we go in the field, there's a plan every single time, and it's based off the prior expedition. The data we get on the activity that's going on gives us a better picture of where we need to be focused heavily in our research. And so we document in that area specifically, you know what I mean? And what I see happening is when I come out of the field and I bring my data, there's a ton of people who are willing, because they've been around and they've been watching and following and actually reviewing objectively. So they're on the same page when I explain things. But then there are people who aren't, and they're not familiar with us. And the resistance and that pathology does exist. And it's reinforced in every single group on social media, and everybody watches it happen. And it's a cycle of abuse of the very people who are trying to bring in the answers you're looking at. And so what I say is, be careful, because in the end, the people you're attacking may be the ones at some point that, like, are going to do this to the extent that at least you can understand what's going on. And that's the thing, right? We can all say whatever we want about what's going on. There's 8 billion perspectives on planet Earth, and a hierarchy of supposedly intelligent individuals who refuse to acknowledge what's going on. That's what's going on. So in the end, what are we left with? Us.
There's also a big resistance I found with researchers when you've spent time researching. I mean, I'm not saying you totally believe everything you do. I mean, you must do. But when people question what you're doing, you do get protective. of what you're doing. I mean, nobody wants anyone to poke at what they're doing if they believe what they're doing is right, or they know what the truth is or whatever. That I think is just natural, but to have the ability to come somewhere like you're trying to do with your group now is to let people be open about what they're doing, and no one has to pick at it or be in competition with it, or whatever goes on with people, with these researchers, that they become so protective of what they're doing that you can't actually have a discussion with them. That is just a problem. That's something that I've noticed that is out there, and it's like trying to overcome that, for people just to let go a little bit and not take it so personal,
Yeah.
and to share that information, and just see, maybe like you say, maybe some people are doing exactly the same thing, but looking at it in a different way. But unless you talk to one another, you're not going to know that.
Yeah. No, I think that's critical. Networking and all those kind of things. And then especially what you brought up earlier, we are considering social media groups educational platforms, and that's simply not the case. And in the end, you cannot educate someone on something in a classroom where you have 5 people who are completely creating chaos as you try to teach somebody. This is the same concept. So that's got a lot to do with, like, there's culpability on the research side, because it's difficult to build educational platforms. First of all, I built 3 of them, and 2 of them have been hacked. It's a nightmare, right? You put all this work into it for months, building these educational platforms where you can actually teach people. And in the end, the social dynamic is what they try to bring into it. And that's where it is, right? That's where everybody goes wrong. See, this isn't pop culture anymore. And that's what people are still used to. They're used to the Bigfoot groups, and everybody's full of it, and this and that's going on. And this is not, playtime is over. And so what we're trying to do is create, at least as a beginning, a Facebook group where researchers can put their work and they're not ridiculed and they're not anything like that. And if anything like that does happen, then individuals are held responsible. But the approval through commenting and all that makes sure. This is what happens on educational platforms, first of all, okay? In the end, people are professional and they talk to each other with respect. And if any needle is going to be moved forward in any direction about any of this, that has to happen. But it has to happen between real research people and the people who want to learn. And so in the end, we want to provide that for other researchers who take the time and produce results from their hard work, with scientific method. And that's really what's going on here. Observation, long-term observation, it gets somewhere.
I'm just going to put a link up in the chat now to Mark's group on Facebook. If you're a researcher, if you want to share what you're doing.
And you should know this as well, too. Danielle, all of this benefits Carrie and Bigfoot Odyssey because we're partnering up. See, this is the cool part. Carrie believes the same thing I do. People need to be educated. And we've had many discussions about this. And so it's our intention to provide these platforms for people so that they can get away from the nonsense and into a more serious dialogue about what's going on out there. This needs to happen. And Carrie and I are on the same page, So.
Definitely. So yeah, that link's there in the chat. I'll put it up later and I'll put it in the description. So go over there and see what Mark's putting out there. You're putting out some interesting videos. Something recently, something flying around in the air.
Oh, yes.
What was that?
Well, here it is, right? Like, so what do? I stick to my guns with basic scientific method, and we don't jump to conclusions, man. We don't. We stick to what the data shows us. Well, for years, we didn't have any kind of phenomenon. I mean, we had an initial difficulty with our cameras, and we had electromagnetic disturbance and electrical interference on our cameras one time. But we didn't have all of this, like, stuff that people always talk about with orbs, and I still haven't seen an orb. But in the end, there's other stuff being recorded now. And so what it is when we go in the field, we're observing a specific area. This area has either had tracks leading into it, or it's had eyewitnesses who've seen them there. and it meets certain specifications. We then go in the area and we do a boots on the ground examination. And if we determine that there's activity in this area based on recognizable signs, we start monitoring. And when we start monitoring, we take basically, several expeditions to just watch the area long term through long lenses at a distance, because we want to observe it when it's natural. We want to see what's going on in there when no one's around for them to watch. So we do that. And then we begin to put a little, like I said, data trail together. But we're observing the same areas over and over and over and over. Now I'm talking about the same 50 yards of tree line over and over and over and over. It could be 3 years straight. And suddenly we start capturing incredible things in the same tree line where there was nothing. And so I start bringing people with me, because what I want to do is I want to see what researchers are doing when they're researching the Sasquatch, and I want to film the Sasquatch who are indeed watching all of us. And so we've been doing that now successfully for a while, using the data that we have on our last, expeditions on monitoring these areas. But it takes a lot of time. It takes an incredible amount of time, to do that. And
what about when you're taking people up there? Do they react differently because they're kind of used to you and Mel? When you're bringing strangers up there, does it have any effect?
Yeah, well, I think it does. And I think it has a negative effect at times, but in other times, and that's still going to bring a lot of data, because I'm filming, and when I don't see anything and there's a bunch of people there, that tells me something, and I gotta keep a log on this stuff. You know what I mean? So in the end, I'm learning a lot, and what we started to put together was that there was no strange phenomenon, because it never showed in our data. Here in the last 6 months, everything's gone crazy. Everything. I've had experiments going on with our cameras now. 13 expeditions, right? 12 expeditions straight. We had camera phenomenon with either battery drain or memory card damage or film footage damage, including one from a sighting I had and filmed the individual. Footage is corrupted. Device constantly losing power and having trouble. Yards from my wife and her camera. Me with my backup camera in my pocket, unaffected. Only my main camera. So I started conducting experiments with that and leaking out where we were going. And it was happening. And then I kept my last expedition secret, and we had no camera phenomenon. So this is, like, stuff is going on now all of a sudden. Well, 2 weeks ago, I was in the field with the guys in this one particular area that has had a lot of activity, and one of our researchers that's been in the area for a while said that he heard a cow being killed. It was straight up being ripped apart. And so I was like, man, I think we're going to take a team in. So we went in. And the very first time that we shot footage there, we walked up to a specific area, and I made a sound that is not a sound from the wilderness. It's nothing from any animal, but it's a sound that I've heard them make. Okay. And within two to 3 seconds, a very large individual mimicked the sound that I made right back at the team. And so we were all aware there was somebody in the tree line over there. It was about 175 yards away, probably. And so Mike wanted to go over there. So Mike was going over there. And while Mike was walking over there, in the footage review, I caught something flying. Okay. Now, if you watch the video, it looks like it's flying really slow, but that's at 1% speed. The craft is not visible at real speed. It's a flash of light in one corner. It's flying so fast that you can't see it, really. So at 1% speed, what it appears to be is a cylinder that's about 12 to 15 inches long. And I noticed it because I did comparisons to Mike's head, because it literally flew over Mike's head about 100 miles an hour. Wow. It's not a bird. Like I said, it's 1% speed. And I don't know how to explain that. I don't, like I said, this is a study. So what are we doing? We're documenting in real time. It's then my job to go in and interpret what's going on in the footage. And it's simple when it's just them. We're used to what we see, and it's easier, you know what I mean? And it's like, but now all of a sudden there are these anomalies. And what happens is when these things are in the area, your camera goes dead. I had a researcher who was recommended to me to bring a 35 millimeter old school camera without any batteries or anything. And Matthew brought it. And the thing took its own pictures without Matt ever even using the picture. The film was used in this area where this thing was flying around.
Wow.
So I don't know what's going on. I'm just as stunned as everybody else, but it's absolutely on the film, and it's absolutely, I don't know what it is, you know? So we're learning and dealing with it just like everybody else. And that's the beauty of, you know, sharing it as we go, you know?
Yeah. Was there a light with this thing, or was it just a shape you saw?
No, I was actually looking at an individual in the tree line and
No,
reviewing.
this cylinder thing.
Oh yeah, I was looking at an individual in the tree line, and this cylinder thing flew out of the bushes right in front of his face.
Right.
And the individual didn't even react. That was just the part that I was like, what? Because it just flew right in front of his face. And I was like, man, something's going on here. This is, you know, abnormal, man. You know, I've also found some really interesting light anomalies in the shape of a bubble over certain sections of forest. And I don't know what that is, but it appears to be reddish, and it is a light anomaly, and I cannot get it off the film. So, and it's shaped like a bubble, like I said, and there's individuals in the bush. It's strange, man. I've never seen anything like this, and I never thought I would, but here we are.
There's something weird happened the other week. I was talking to Iron Dogger one night, and sometimes Kerry's seen orbs on my screen. Actually, like a couple of weeks after my dog died, there started to be orbs showing up, and they'd never ever noticed anything before that.
Wow.
But yeah, it was so strange.
That's a trip, man.
Yeah, I was talking to Iron Dogger the other night, and she had these things flying around her. They were like golden, like rods almost, just flying around her head. And then one went in like a swiggle line. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't believe we've seen so many.
That's kind of strange. I've seen stuff like that in outside of the forest, like, you know, in houses and all that. And I can probably go in my studio now and probably catch one. You know what I mean? I might do that sometime for Shudder.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna sit there with my infrared on, and you guys will trip. It looks like you're underwater. There's so much. I mean, you can see the dust, but there's a difference between stuff that's like moving around in there, and you can see it move. Sometimes they float right into the lens, man. You know, and you're like, that thing was clear. You could see the edges of it, you know?
Yeah.
They're really cool. I don't know what they are.
No, definitely. I know for a fact Strangeland has seen a lot. I've seen a lot of his images, and there's some weird stuff going on with him, with orbs. Lots of, you know, it's just, what the heck is going on?
I don't know. And you know, here's the thing though, right? Like I look at history and what it stated about several different things before I investigated it. And then I was like investigating it, and I'm like, oh, there's something to this. You know what I mean? And Bigfoot was no exception, man. You know, I'd heard about all that stuff. And I watched the Search of when I was a kid back, you know, when this first television was in its heyday, man. You know what I mean? It was like everything was new back then. You know, we had 3 channels, bro. You know what I mean? Come on.
I remember that.
Everything was new. And that's how old we are now. I'm like, come on, man. But you look at it, and it's like all of that stuff is you know, it's really influenced like what I thought about everything. And I never in a million years thought that any of this stuff was going to happen. This is paranormal to me, right? And so I started looking at it over the weekend, and I was like, okay, well, at least it wasn't an orb, because I can't explain that. What this looks like is something solid. And to me, it's like, you know, what do we really know about nanotechnology these days? What do we really know about, and how far are we? I was just doing research on possibilities of what it could have been. And scientifically, with technology, I couldn't believe what I was seeing on the internet, just on the internet. That's public. You know what I mean? So I'm looking at it now. It's, who knows, you know?
Yeah. I remember reading Dan Brown, Deception Point, I think it's called, like 20 years ago. And the first chapter, the first page talks about two scientists talking. They're in the middle of the Antarctica or wherever, and there's the tiniest little drone which has got a microphone on it that is basically listening to their conversation, and it's so small they can't even see. It's like smaller than a fly.
Yes, nuts.
Yeah, this is 20 years ago. I mean, this stuff must have been out there
Yeah.
years, and we're only getting like the cheap version, the affordable, bulky
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
And now you're like, no wonder the bugs won't die from raid.
Exactly. Fly swatters are just not doing it.
That's hilarious, dude.
I know.
Oh God, that's funny.
Now let me just get back to one of these comments here. Ed, where you are, Ed. This is my fault. I must admit. I set the show up, and when I put the calendar on to put the time, I accidentally must have moved the date to next week, and I noticed about 40 minutes or half an hour before the show started because I didn't get a notification myself. So I thought that was weird. So that's my fault. Don't hate YouTube, because it was me. So sorry about that. So yeah, it's if anyone's got any questions anyway for Mark and what he's doing, put them up in capital letters, and I will ask them to him.
Yeah, because hey, I can tell you right now, like I know that there's other stuff going on. I know, you know what I mean. I mean, I've experienced enough in my life to know that there's something to the UFO thing. I've seen things, and I've talked to many people. There's something to the what you would call the paranormal thing with the spirits and the disembodied voices and all this. There's something going on. Okay, I mean, I've heard it myself, and I've heard many, many recordings, and I've interviewed and talked with many people. And with the Bigfoot thing, it's just been. I'm very glad that regardless of what was going on, I had my blinders on. Because I got news for you. There's no way I could have continued and gotten to where we were with what we know, so that we can, Carrie and I and Melanie can get ready to do, and Brad too, can get ready to do what we're going to do. And just looking at it, it's like, I know I would have went sideways. There was an opportunity in the beginning where we had an occurrence where we went missing an hour. And that almost set me back. Like, because I started to go into an investigation on that, and I know I wouldn't be as far with learning about the creatures, at least how to document them better is what we're that's what we're studying.
Yeah, it's definitely a long-term thing, isn't it? This studying them. I mean, there's just no way you can go out for a few days and get a good picture of what's going on. I mean, it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a broken clock is right twice a day, right? Everybody can get lucky, people get lucky, man, and they get on, they get to show their stuff and everything. But this was for Renee DeHinden, man. This is for John Bindernagel, man. This is for the guys that came before us. That, I mean, come on, man. These nobody did this. And so we were like, man, let's just do it, and you come to find out, it's like looking at the same bush for 7 years. It's like, oh my God, man, because they're embedded, and they absolutely. And the funny thing is people think that, like, I don't think people understand that they're not going anywhere. It's like, I talk to people all the time. They're like, well, the logging industries and all this stuff. And I don't think people get it, man. Like, they've been working on this for like 40 years. They're already in the right spots. Nothing's going to change. You're just going to hear about it and then want to go to the park a little more because you might see one. You know what I mean? Like, in the end, they already exist. They're already here. What happens is interactions is still the same thing that's going to happen. And there's a potential, obviously, since people know now that interactions will increase. And that's going to have to be guided. But that's the same thing with bears. And I would venture a guess that you're more likely to be attacked by a grizzly bear, even if you're not in grizzly country, than you are a Sasquatch. You know what I mean? Like, this is, so it's like to actually act like, it's like doomsday because Sasquatch is validated is completely ridiculous, if you ask me,
Yeah.
Like,
Um,
put it on the endangered species list, obviously, right? You know what I mean?
mm,
I remember when they first put the great white on the moratorium, global moratorium on them. A couple guys in like the first year got busted and went to prison for taking white sharks. You know what I mean? It's the same kind of thing. It's a super predator, you know?
mm. I think at the end of the day, you know, what's important is getting the word out there, isn't it? Is getting this awareness out there. You can talk to people till you're blue in the face, and they will never agree with you or see what you're seeing in your images or your video. But the thing is, at least it attracts some attention. You know, whether it's right or wrong. I think any way to kind of raise awareness of this thing needs to be done. But we need some sort of seriousness about it now. That's why money's helping, better technology is helping.
Yeah.
It's the only way really to seem more credible, maybe, in this subject, because that's it's just such a shame. I'm just thinking about, I watched a video last week on YouTube. It's an English channel, and actually Doug Highcheck was on there. It's a true crime channel, a UK channel I followed for quite a few years, and I was so surprised to see Doug Highcheck on there. And they do these like interviews with different people, and this guy who owns the channel as a co-host, and he was just asking all those typical questions my friends ask, like, "What is it? And where's the proof?" And you just
Right.
don't have the answers. I can't just say, "Well, my friend Kerry saw one." It just
Yeah.
don't cut it, you know.
Well, the humorous part is this, right? There's footage of one walking away, but you get those responses, and that's because the
Yeah.
debate has been raised by the right people, and it was raised a long time ago, right? And it was raised publicly on television. And the second that you say, "Well, it could be something else," of course, then it could be something else, right? It could be.
It could
It could
be.
be.
Yeah.
That's invalidation right there, you know.
Mm.
So, and that's the whole thing, right? And so when you look at it, like somebody says, "Where's the proof?" I always say the same thing. You got 7 years, because
Yeah.
that's how long it took me. You know
Mm.
what I mean? And
Yeah.
don't come at me with that cockiness, because
Mm.
I work, and this is work, and make no mistake. And so when we handle stuff like that moving forward, looking at people who have no respect, how do we educate the public that's definitely been educated to not respect the subject on the whole is the real question. You know what I mean? And,
Mm.
and like, you know, I was talking with Carrie about this, and there's a lot of people who are concerned about this, because how do you move the needle forward when the general public has no respect for the subject? The possibility has become a joke over the years. And it's not within the community, but largely in the general public's mind. And it's
Yeah.
interesting because when you look around at other countries, this isn't the case everywhere. There are other countries respecting that this is reality right now. And that's it's really, really strange that Americans aren't actually looking at the way other countries are handling this and then taking it to the government, because I thought we were the government. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Literally, other countries are like leading in this, you know, putting habitat away and making it public that these creatures are in here. You know what I mean? I mean, that's acknowledgement, man, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I say, it's just good. It's causing some sort of stir, and I think the more credibility we get doing this, and I feel like there is a change in how this is being done. And it's very easy, isn't it, to sit on the other side of the screen and just go, well, it's just, and these people have never moved or never done anything. It's such a frustrating subject. We were just talking about this before, weren't we? It's such a frustrating subject. You try and give as much as you can to, providing a platform, trying to raise awareness, just trying to do some good, not trying to control a narrative, not trying to do anything, not even trying to put any facts out there, because nobody knows what anybody's doing. But there's still this kind of, I don't know, people that want to be here but don't want to go along with what's actually happening. And I don't know why that is.
I don't
It
know.
seems like a waste of energy for those people who don't want to be here or
I
want
know,
to
I know. I
give
don't
them.
have the energy. I don't have the energy to deal with it. That's just what it is. I mean, it's like the field and then the presentation, and I'm exhausted, man.
Yeah,
That's ridiculous. The amount of I mean, really. So and it's like somebody that puts a video out on YouTube who actually goes in the field. I can tell you, they're working hard just to put
yeah,
that video out. It's incredible amounts of information that you have to know just to get it to the internet. You know what I mean? Just to get it in the computer, most people have trouble with. You know what I
definitely.
mean? So like they're really trying, man, and I got a lot of respect for that. I mean, I know there's culpability in that area where people who have no idea what they're doing. Does everybody understand that that's how it is, even if you go do it? Nobody knows, right? So you have to learn. You have to start somewhere, and it's really difficult when other people, especially in the online community, are trying to bully you over it. You know what I mean? Even if you are saying something that sounds ludicrous, it's not okay to abuse people. It's not.
No.
And you know what it is. Everybody knows what it is. And nobody wants that to happen to them. That's the thing about Earth. There's always somebody bigger than you. Don't bully people. That's horrible.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I just think it's not worth having a battle with someone over a picture, especially over a photo.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
just not worth it, because at the end of the day, that photo really isn't, going to solve the clue.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I like what you
We know
said.
it now.
It's exactly what you said in the beginning. There's some kind of a demand. Like, I don't understand that. Like, I thought
Mm,
I was doing a good thing.
yeah, I
You know what
know,
I
I
mean?
know. Yeah,
I'm like, okay.
yeah. But there are, opinions out there that go, all this, photos. What is it? It's no good. We just want proof. Well, go and get it.
Yeah.
Get off your butt and go
Yeah.
and get it, and come back and show us.
Yeah. Let's see it.
Don't sit there and tell us, we're not doing it the right way. I mean, who knows what the right way is, but
Yeah,
it's
I honestly, like the more it's like this, right? What I see with crypto reality is the more repetitive documentation you have, the more people can see the beginnings of what's going on. Like we had GoPros and like $50 sunglass cameras in the beginning because that's all we could afford. We wanted to get this started though.
mm,
Where we're at now is miles and miles from there. And it's 7 years later. And I tell you, these people are working hard and they're still going. And I've got people that started when I started and they're still going strong, man. And they're getting better at what they're doing. They're getting better at what they're doing. And the whole time, the very people who are supposed to be supporting them, like you said, it's like, man, and here's the thing. There are people supporting, and that's the good thing. Because I can tell you right now, if it wasn't for Carrie, crypto reality wouldn't be here. If it wasn't for crypto reality, Carrie wouldn't be here. There's so many different little butterfly effects going on in here. And what you show, you never know how it's going to affect somebody.
mm,
It might motivate them to change the world, or at least try. And in the end, just keep believing what you're doing and keep documenting and keep coming and bringing it, man. And eventually, it's like the recognition will come for all of us who've been saying this,
mhm,
and cognition will finally break through and people will start seeing it. It happens in smaller scales with crypto reality. We've done experimental group stuff where we share stuff and people understand exactly what's going on. We share the same information with individuals who are prone to attacking people over this stuff. And it's always the same result.
mm,
A lack of willingness to learn is what's represented. And
yeah,
that's the thing. If you can provide a place where people can learn something, and I think we can cumulatively, this country has got researchers all over the place and we share a vast amount of knowledge. And I just think it's a great idea.
yeah, definitely. And really, for everybody researching, including yourself, and I've found this with people that I've interviewed, um, you want to find the answer first. I mean, you want to find the answer for yourself. Your thoughts isn't, oh, Mary on YouTube, I better go and find the answers. You put this effort in for yourselves, and that's time consuming. Don't think a lot of people are going to take time out of their lives, because it's a lot of time that you've put into it, just for the heck of it. I mean, there's a reason and purpose people are going out researching, and I think the main thing is they need answers. They've had experiences, and for them, this is a search for their answers, and it's going to be secondary. The other people that get to find out, So I just think people should think twice before you put someone down on what they're doing. You might not agree with it. Move on. It's not the be all and end all.
Yeah, I do that every day, all day. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It's not like, it's not difficult to be polite,
No.
I don't agree with that stuff, but I don't really want to interfere, so.
Right, let me just go back, because I should have just highlighted those. This is an interesting one. Oh, this is an interesting one. Hi, Wade. Long time no see. Wade, I need to get in touch with you. I wish you could have a show of all the pictures you've collected. That would be interesting to see a little video reel of some of your ones that you've. Oh, okay.
I have one. It's 6 hours and 14 minutes long. 6 hours and 14 minutes, and that was only to 2017. 2017. It's 6 seconds. Each image is 6 seconds.
There you go, Wade. That's a Saturday night taken care of. 6 hours of.
No, I can't. It's like everybody's like, oh man, I love that part in this film, and I was thinking to myself, what year was that? You know what I mean? Like, I don't even remember making that film. You know what I mean? It's so long ago. So yeah, I can make a few, I bet.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though: the cumulative visual evidence that the research community has, even if you gave it all to people and let them filter out what they thought was not viable, the cumulative evidence, just visual, warrants further scientific investigation from the research community itself, biologic, zoological, the whole thing. The reality of what we're facing is, if we really accept that this is real right now, and everybody says this is real, why and how did all the data that's been collected for decades not show it? There's no way that it doesn't show it. There's no way. It's not possible. And that's the whole thing, right? So, I don't know, man. I look at like everything that's going on as, like, especially now, like, what was that, Sunday night or Friday night when we did the late night show? We had the guy from Mississippi, Shannon.
Friday, yeah.
That was an incredible show for me, man. Like that guy actually got to see one like I saw. And that's, I think, what it is, right? Like, Carrie's adamant on this, and I'm with him on it. Everybody's on it. The right footage shot the right way with corroboration is going to be fine. And we're working on it. I'm just telling you, we're getting all of our ducks in a row. And I agree with him about it. If we could shoot the creatures in crystal clear footage, and I think we can, with some precautions, obviously, but I think we can, then I think even the people that we're talking about tonight that are resistant to the truth and maybe have personal reasons, I don't know, business reasons, who knows, there's people who have businesses and make money promoting skepticism. So obviously, yeah, right. But in looking at it, I agree with him. I think that footage will do it. It just has to be the right footage. It has to be done right, And so, like I said, we're working on it, man. And I've been studying this one area now for about 3.5 years. And we have that opportunity. And thanks to another great researcher on our team, Captain Brian, we have an excellent secondary area. And actually, I'm more afraid of working in the secondary area than I am in the primary, Yeah, the new spot is crazy. Right. That's the new where the thing's flying around, and I don't even know. There's stuff on film in this place. I've never seen anything like it. It's the kind of stuff that I heard described by people in the Pacific Northwest tribes, where giant trees get ripped out of the ground and stuck back in 12 feet, up and down.
That's going to be interesting. Let me
Yeah.
grab one of these questions before they start disappearing. Sasha Feline says, Mark, if you had the chance to ask a Sasquatch one question and you would get an actual answer, what would you ask?
Well, I get irritated, you know what I mean? Because I'm trying to catch them on film and they're not cooperating most of the time. So I'm having to pull tricks and experiments, all this crap. So I have like frustrating things to ask them. You know what I mean? I can't use profanity right now, so I'm gonna keep that one to myself.
Yeah, we'll do that on another show where we can.
I'm just saying. Yeah. Well, when you actually spend that much money on apples and nobody will just step out, or when they do, your camera fails. Like, I mean, I'm just over it. You know, we'll get it though. We'll get it. Sometimes you need more than one brain on it. And at this point, I'm glad to have Carrie and even Daniela and anybody else that's contributing, you know, to help Crypto Reality figure out what's going on with our tech problems, you know.
Yeah, like you say, it's not easy, is it? It's not like I film a lot of birds in my garden, and I know if I put some mealworms on a bit of a rock, they'll be down in no time, and they're not camera shy, and it's so easy to do, isn't it? But these things, even for the apples, they're not performing.
You know,
how much
I'm
can you
just
spend
glad they like those, because at least that, you know, we've been able to get as far as we have with those, you know.
with those? Yeah, that's a good thing as well, isn't it? It's what you're feeding them makes a difference.
Yeah.
So if anyone's got any more questions, I'm still just looking down the list. Any more questions for Mark? Now, you're on your channel and you go live quite often. I mean, I'm quite surprised to put it on and you're there doing it. Is that just impromptu, or do you have specific times and dates that you're going live on your channel?
My schedule is about the field research and putting the research film together for our clients who are funding the work, right? So that's my focus. And then secondarily, I'll do a live show when I have time. If I find something exciting on film, I'll do a live show, you know, because I like to update people on what's going on with us. You know, but like I said, you know, when we're heavy in research, man, I'll leave YouTube. And when we know that we're on to something, I need 100% focus on what's going on. And so I can't let all this energy go with what's going on, like what we're doing now and networking and all that. But we caught some really good breaks in the last 3 years and made some really huge strides in figuring some things out. And so, yeah, now at this point, you know, I'm about that, but it's like I don't think it's like you said in the beginning. People don't understand, man. This is like constant. It's not ending. It's not gonna end. You know what I mean? We're studying this thing, and so year after year, you know, gaining, and it's like I remember in the first week I thought, this will take a month, you know, and it's like, my God, the first month I knew nothing, and I was thinking that. I was like, man, you know, it's like it's one of those things where if I knew I didn't know anything, at least I would have known something, but I didn't even know that. Yeah. Man.
At the times when you feel like maybe there's been a new one born, or there's something very, very sort of precious going on, or where they're very high, you know, high alert. Is there any kind of periods like that where you think there's something they're really trying to protect something at the moment?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like this, right? So if they accept you and stop throwing stuff, then it's like it seems like in the 4 times that we've had that happen, this last 2 times, one of them was one of my team members that found the area, and the other time it was different. I found a track. These other times when we found these areas, I triggered responses aggressively, and so it was different. These things wanted us out, and could you put the question back up? Was that 2-parter?
The one before, the last one was about asking it a question.
Excuse me?
It was what, a 2-parter? Sorry.
The question you put up. I was seeing if you could put the question back up.
Oh, right. Okay. Let me go back. I don't think
because I thought it was 2 parts to it.
I don't think so. I think it was
Oh, geez, we lost it. My bad. I was
Yeah,
thinking about the, okay. Yeah, that was horrible. Okay, so anyway, yeah, when we went in the areas, I think that probably it took about 2 months for him to calm down. And in situations where there was intensity, it was always us trying to initiate it. And so these creatures, you won't even know they're there. You will not even know they're there. You won't even know they're there. It's like, and that's one of the reasons why it's like so humorous to me that we have these debates, because in the end, I'm catching these things in places people would never. I mean, when they find out what's going on, it's almost gonna be laughable.
mm,
I can tell you, they've been watching you jog in some places, and we've caught them off
right.
doing it. So in the end, it's one of these things where if they were, if there was like a lot of really weird stuff going on most of the time, and there's not, even though they're there, I would think that things would be more intense, because when the weird stuff's going on, everything gets intense. Everything gets intense. They're intense.
Mm,
The interaction is intense. You feel this like horrible,
mm,
I mean, people talk about that being like ridiculous. No, no, there's nothing like standing there in a quiet part of the forest and then hearing something giant, breathing heavy,
very,
breaking stuff, walking up to you. This
mm,
is, yeah, it's an intense situation, but this is not my behavior. I'm experiencing it as this thing does it. And the thing about them is what you really got to know is under no circumstances do they choose to do that. So if they're doing it, you should leave.
yeah,
You
definitely.
know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
and that's, you know what I mean? So yeah, intensity that way. Oh yes. I have literally had to walk out on a trail where there's only 4 to 6 feet on each side of us, and the bush is so thick, and they were standing next to that trail, and it was dark. And my wife and I told her, keep your eyes on the ground and just keep walking. Don't look up, no matter what happens.
Mm,
When we walked by him, you could hear him breathing, and we were walking out of there. I mean, it was nuts. So I think the intensity is about your intrusion and how. Like if you're intent on messing with them, then yeah, stuff can get real intense.
yeah. It was actually me who asked the question. I did
Oh,
put one
no,
in.
that's right. You know what? I realize that now. I'm like,
I know. And I thought, what question? I thought,
well, you know
anyway,
what it is? Too many shows this week.
that's what it is. Show overload. Show overload.
Hey, you
Uh,
know what? It happens, man.
I know.
It happens.
Yeah, I know. There's so many things go on that it's hard to keep track sometimes. Plus, it's nearly 2 o'clock in the morning. But I'm looking forward to Sunday because your clocks go back, forward. They go forward.
Spring
Uh,
forward.
yeah, spring forward. And ours don't go forward till the end of the month. So I get 2 weeks where the show starts an hour early for me. So it
Ah,
starts at midnight instead of 1 a.m. I mean, that's
that's
such
awesome, man. That's
it
awesome.
does make a difference for me. Like I get a 2 week holiday. It's kind of how it feels like. I get to go to bed at 1. So
Yeah.
anyway, look, we've got through the hour. Just about. It's been interesting. I've just put a
Yeah.
link again to your Facebook group on face Facebook. Just like
Facebook.
that. Facebook group
Yes.
on Facebook,
If
which
you
is where
will.
it would be. It's the most obvious place it would be. So if you are a researcher and you want to share what you're doing and you're open to discussion and it's all done in a very nice and non-aggressive
Yes.
fighting competition way. It's just like let's drop all the egos maybe or whatever it is people bring to these places and just sit back and listen a little bit, before you jump in and try and tell people what they should be doing or how they should be doing it. If you know how to do it and how it should be done, go out, do it, come back and show us what you got, because I'd be fascinated to see
Yeah.
someone coming back with some answers. Anything you want to say before we end, Mark?
Yeah. Just that it's a safe place for people, man. And it's not about that one up them kind of thing. And I love networking. And right now we're studying light and how it interacts with the environment. and we're learning incredible things about it, and we're sharing it in our group and with everybody so that they can know and be better armed when they go in the field with their cameras.
Yeah, it's a great idea, and just being aware makes a difference. I'll finish in a second, but we did have a guest come on once with an encounter, and he wasn't never into Bigfoot, and his brother had got him to watch. I can't remember all the details, but pretty much got him into watching our shows, I think, or listening to Sasquatch Chronicles. And he had an encounter. He saw one of these things, but he was in a much better place. He got his camera out. He tried to take a photo. It had his back to him. He had the presence of mind to do that because I think,
That's
knowing
awesome.
about it had softened the blow, and more of a curiosity came over than a fear of just seeing
Awesome.
something for the first time. So it makes a difference. Awareness makes a massive difference. So
It does.
yeah, that's just one good example of what it can do. But guys, until Friday, it'll be a late show, possibly with Mark and Kerry and Brad.
Hopefully, Brad. I miss
Yeah,
Brad.
yeah, definitely. Hope he's doing all right. Everything's doing all right at his end.
Yes.
But yeah, guys, we'll see you on Friday, and hopefully we'll have a drawing Bigfoot on Saturday. And yeah, everyone take care. Good night.
Thanks, guys.